here we are, just a couple of days out now from the start of the new Premier League season. We're in Liverpool, home of the current champions, home of a magnificent new stadium for Everton. How excited are you about what this season has in store?
I can't wait for it to start. As you say, Friday night, it's going to be an emotional night at Anfield. Week on Sunday, Hill Dickinson's going to be full of 52,000 people. Loads of great stories around Liverpool and the rest of the country. We've got a fantastic, dramatic and competitive season, I hope, for the Premier League, with competition for the title, for European spots, relegation at the bottom, and a genuinely competitive league that fans can enjoy between August and May.
What does it mean for the Premier League when you get a magnificent new arena pop up? I guess the last one we had was Tottenham, and this one looks just as fantastic.
I think it'd be transformational for the club. I mean, it's good news for the Premier League generally, for the collective, to have world-class facilities, and Hill Dickinson is definitely that. It's going to be transformative for the club, I'm sure. It's going to provide much-needed finance to help rebalance the club, take them forward. Squads being changed under David Moyes, so the future for Everton Football Club looks really bright.
And you mentioned the competitive nature of the league. One area where it's not been particularly competitive, and particularly last season, the one before that, is the teams coming up from the Championship, all three going straight back down. How important is it for the brand and the product that the teams coming up this season make a better fist of it?
Well, we want clubs to come up and be successful. Other clubs have proven it's possible with or without parachute payments. Just look at Brentford and Brighton, and established themselves. And of course, the year before that, in 22-23, we had all three staying up, and they were Forest, Bournemouth and Fulham. And look how they're doing in the Premier League. So it is possible. It is tough. That is for sure. And it really points to the parachute system, I think, that parachutes are really important for clubs coming up, and also for those clubs that might concede that relegation is possible over a 5 or 10 year period. They've got the safety to invest, knowing that they'll be supported by parachutes if they go down. So of course we want clubs to stay up regularly in the Premier League, and I'm sure that will be the case.
I've got to ask you about the 39th game that's been discussed previously, maybe taking a Premier League game overseas, and it's particularly topical this week because obviously La Liga have just given their blessing for a game to be played in America. What's the Premier League stance on that 39th game? Is it still off limits?
Nothing has changed. I mean, we don't have any plans to look at games abroad. We haven't talked about it around our shareholders' table. La Liga have been very open about their desire to play matches abroad. The local federation have approved it. I still have to get Confederation and FIFA's approval to do it, so there's some way to go before that ever becomes reality, but it hasn't changed our perspective on it at all. And I think if you mentioned the 39th game, I remember it, the controversy it created, but really the objective behind it was to grow the Premier League abroad and around the world, and I think we've done that without needing to play matches abroad. The Premier League is now genuinely global. It has billions of followers around the world. We're really proud of that, and so things have changed.
There's no concern for you that, particularly with a number of American-owned clubs now, that they might see what La Liga are doing and think we'll have a piece of that and it will come back on the agenda?
No, I mean, there are different views about this, but it's not discussed. And my view, we now have 11 sort of majority-owned or fully owned clubs in the Premier League, and lots of American investment in the EFL as well, by the way. And my view on them, they've been very good. They are very willing to invest in their clubs, but they respect English footballing culture and heritage and the communities in which they exist. So no issues there.
The other elephant in the room whenever it comes to Premier League meetings and these events is Manchester City and those charges that are still unresolved. Can you tell us if we're any clearer to getting a resolution?
I'm sorry that I can't. I can't provide any information. The only time I can speak about it is when a decision is handed down. I can't talk about when that might be, and so there's very little I can update on.
Why, on the face of it, does it appear to be so clandestine? Why is it just unspoken?
It's the way that the rules are structured. I mean, just to explain, I can't talk about the process or any process, frankly, apart from when charges are originally brought, and then I have to make those public, and when a decision is handed down, and eventually that decision will be published in some way. The bit in between is entirely confidential, and it's not appropriate that I speak about it. The other thing I think is the independent nature of the judicial panel we appoint. We have nothing to do with the appointment of those people. There are 3 independent people that hear the case, and they decide, and they have to write the judgment down, and that's the job they're doing at the moment.
Would you concede, though, that it's taking too long?
I can't really. I can't put any pressure on the situation whatsoever.
But I guess like Manchester City fans and non-football fans, as the head of the Premier League, you would probably like it out in the open as soon as possible so that we start having these conversations.
As I said, I really can't make any comment on that, unfortunately.
Okay. Also talking to you in the week when Crystal Palace have been demoted from the Europa League to the Conference League. I know that wasn't a Premier League decision, it was a UEFA decision, but does it in any way damage the Premier League brand to see one of your clubs handed that kind of punishment?
Well, I can absolutely empathise with the massive disappointment of not being in the Europa. They won the FA Cup, qualified for it. Obviously, UEFA and CAS have decided that some multi-club ownership rules have been breached, and that means a different situation is about to occur. We can adjust to that, and I think that anything should take anything away from the amazing achievements of the team and Oliver Glasner over the last 3 months. Won their first cup in God knows how long, Community Shield last weekend, and they are going on a European journey. Disappointing though that is.
One of the other things that's been announced today is the fact that all 10 final day of the season games are going to be televised live, which is obviously a big undertaking. Is it also the first step towards ending that 3 p.m. television blackout?
Well, we're starting new television agreements across the board, including renewing our radio partnership with talkSPORT. And we're more live matches generally, so we're going from 200 to 265 plus. There's been lots of matches broadcast simultaneously on Sunday at 2 p.m. On Sky, and the final weekend will all be together. I don't think that changes the situation really with regards to Article 48. The matches between 2 and 5 that take place won't be broadcast live in this country, and that commitment is really going to stretch for the next 4 years, because that's how long our domestic broadcast contracts last for.
Is it not a bit outdated now, though, when you think that you can go to, hop on a plane, go on a relatively short flight, and you can watch all the games live in a bar, but you can't do it in?
Well, there are lots of good reasons to keep doing it. I know that we're quite quaint in that respect, but I still think it's the right decision for a whole host of reasons, including keeping Saturday afternoon, which is the traditional place to watch football, a bit more sacrosanct. So I think on balance we've got the right situation going forward, and of course we will work out what the impact of these additional matches are on scheduling and our calendar, and work out what the right decision is going to be going forward when it comes to talking about our next set of television contracts from 29 onwards.
On the subject of tradition, it raised a lot of eyebrows when the fixtures came out, and there's no Premier League games at the moment scheduled to take place on Boxing Day, and I know a couple of our pundits have said, well, this is the beginning of the end for Premier League football on Boxing Day. What would your response to that be?
I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's I would look into it for you, but I think it's a vagary of the calendar. So I think there will be some matches on Boxing Day, and people don't need to be worried. What I would call the festive run of fixtures is still in place. Whether on Boxing Day or the 27th, we have to spread those matches out a bit, and maybe in a slightly different way. But we're fully supportive of the festive period.
And lastly, another new dynamic to this season is the fact we had the Club World Cup, which only finished a month ago. Obviously, Chelsea went deep into it. Manchester City were there as well. What's your view on that competition? Is there any concern that when we get to the business end of the Premier League season, those exertions might catch up on the players? Yeah,
I mean, that's obviously a natural concern. I mean, congratulations, first of all, to Chelsea for winning it. We always want our clubs, whether in European or international competitions, to do really well. And Chelsea won it. They played 7 matches during the course of the season. As you know, it's slightly controversial. It's a new competition on top of an expanded European competition. So the Premier League hasn't changed shape. It's still 380 games and has been since 1994. The additional matches are all European or international. And at some point, something has to give. So there needs to be a dialogue at the top of the game between the leagues, between the players, and national associations and FIFA about what the right answer to all of this is, because I don't ever want to be in a situation where players are having to choose which matches they preserve themselves for. At the moment, winning the Premier League is, pretty much 99% certain the number one priority of every club, and I want that to remain.